Pleasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Obviously I'm living proof, to say the least. First of all, happy birthday to me. It's my birthday today. It's also the 53rd day of being locked into my apartment for my own safety and my own life here. As crazy as that sounds, you have to remember the United States government doesn't like me. I'm a whistleblower. I have corruption charges. I have a broken arm, which is war crimes, torture, because they broke my shoulder and did a lot of damage to my ribcage just to hurt me. This is the third birthday that I have spent literally in some kind of imprisonment type of a situation, because when they did this and I wouldn't shut up, they then tossed me in again, and I spent 2 birthdays in a row during the 18 months I was locked up the second time there in prison. I was a good boy. I was polite to myself. I saved myself some actual for real coffee for today. I have beans. I have secured my rent through a while yet. Not very nice to the Mexicans here. I let them know that because they claim me to be insane, running around screaming, "You're insane if you think you hear voices," and the fact that they make money off the fact that they sell, "I have a saint in my town. My town is blessed." Yes, they have literally done what's called blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. And if you read the Bible here, this is what these people extremely profess in and to collect money for, and their churches are about, you know. They're Mexicans, they're Christian or Catholic, okay. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they just stomp not only on their God El Cristo, Jesus Cristo, but they have also stepped on the whole of the Holy Spirit, because it specifically states, I believe it's Mark 13:25 through 28, that if you blaspheme the human world, no problem, you can be forgiven. If you blaspheme the Holy Spirit itself, which is all of the spiritual realm, yeah, you are in trouble in a very huge way. That's the eternal damnation according to the Bible. And of course the amusing thing is then you take Corinthians 1:12, which is about spiritual gifts, and it specifies that the Holy Spirit decides who gets what gifts of being able to communicate to the spiritual realm, or hear gods and saints, or heal people, or move mountains, or walk on water, any of that stuff. It is not a human's decision. Therefore, they have committed blasphemy directly in the face of their God, and more importantly, they have been taking money in saying that there's a saint-blessed town. Yeah, needless to say, they are now suddenly realizing they're in quite a pickle, and of course they've been doing it for 400 years. So, you know, they're not quite certain what to do, because they know that it is their whole lineage going back for 400 years that they have been defrauding people and telling the gods to go stick it, you know. So, needless to say, I'm not being polite to them. I'm in no way a pushover here. But one of the things, you know, and like I said, I keep, you know, pointing out the fact that most people pray to go to heaven after they die. All I'm doing is praying I go to heaven before I die. Okay, I want to get on my starship and get out of here. Now I'm going to put a couple of different pieces in of my sitting down and building the images for my starship that, you know, I was 2 years old, 1960, my first real big, huge introduction to the spiritual realm and to my contract and the fact that I would be going through a pretty lousy life, which I have to now existed in and lived through. I don't really have anybody I can trust on the outside to come to the door and tell me it's safe to come outside. There's no knight in shining armor. There's no damsel, you know, in non-distress to come run and save me. There's no army. There's no cavalry. You know, there's basically nothing there other than myself and what I know how to do and all. And at that point, this is kind of where I started having fun. Now, like I said, I've got the 23 numbers up here. This is Anton Wilson, Final Secrets of the Illuminati, a book he wrote, I'm not real certain, I think in the 60s was when he wrote it. I read it in the end of, I think I read it in like 78, 70, no, I was 23 when I read it, so I read it in 81, okay? That was the first tip-off that I was in for a rather hilarious trip with going through the number 23 base, of that being the number that signifies what the Illuminati control. Now for me, the Illuminati would be the spiritual realm. Okay, they are the enlightened ones. They're the ones that really master and control things. The El Diablo Illuminati would be a little bit different thing, and that's what most people think of, and that's the evil controllers and the New World Order and that kind of stuff, and that's also running full steam in its direction. But one of the things, like I want to point out, was that today's the 53rd day. It's my birthday. I was born in 1958, so 1 and 9 is 10. 5 and 8 is 13, yeah, 23, a 23 year. As I put, you know, all kinds of things here that, you know, match up. I also wanted to point out something kind of interesting, that Gandhi was killed in 1948, 10 years before I was born. Martin Luther King, who shares January 15th as his birthday. Okay, I know that it moves around as a national holiday, but his actual birth date is the 15th of January, which is the same as mine. Situation being what it is, he was somebody that was rather instrumental in my life, and I was 10 years old when he was murdered. Okay, so it's kind of an interesting, I'm more Gandhi, the non-religious, than Martin Luther King and his, you know, more prevalent Christian Bible teachings and stuff like that. But needless to say, both of those two figures and what they did in standing up, and I'm going to put an image of Martin Luther King sitting, you know, there's a meme I got somewhere of him sitting in prison with his numbers and saying, I'd rather be here than outside being a sheep, type of a thing. So, you know, there's a few things like that. But what I also want to kind of point out here is that Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras about 3,500 years ago. About 1500 BC was when they were written. They were the yogic knowledges which basically transcends most of your Hindu, which means that they are about, you know, another 2 to maybe 8,000 years older, because they were, you know, they were definitely a lineage thing. You got to pass down master to, you know, student, master to student type of a thing. But you have Sanskrit as one of the yogic languages, and it's by far one of the oldest. There, you know, you can be debatable as to whether it was this part of the world or that. It was kind of a spontaneous combustion in some ways, that several areas started developing very similar language skills, shall we say, different types of characters and different ending bases and stuff, but a variety of languages, and Sanskrit is one of the original ones. But the knowledges and stuff in there, a lot of people don't understand still happen to this day in India. You still have the yogis, you still have the people that know how to perform magical tricks and stuff like this. And I was introduced to this information pre 8 years, 8, 9, 10 years of age, when I started realizing the absolute wealth in a larger library and getting into larger and larger libraries. I mean, when I went to work in a library when I was 7 at my school during the summer for the fun of it, just to be around books. I've always loved books. I read and I read and I read. So I have, an enormous amount of background in the idea of, the shamanistic stuff, what the and I don't know quite how to say it, the siddhis are, which are kind of the magical abilities, which would be the same thing as the psychic abilities in your Taoism and Buddhism, and New Age stuff and things like that. I do healing hands. I've known for a long time, and people that know me know that I have been handed a lot of nicknames. Whether it was in prison, I was called the Storm Wizard. When I was in high school, I was given the name of Gandalf, which I still to this day have fun and play around with. My son got a kick out of the fact that the New Zealand, the very nice version of doing Lord of the Rings, Gandalf in there and I kind of looked similar at the time. So there are bits and pieces and things like that that go on through my life, ever weaving in and through. And I've also, of course, I've got the background of what I'm doing, and I forgot to bring the picture in here, but I'll put it into the video. I'll get into a race car. First time ever drive a race car at speed on a race course, full-on race car. And I take it 7 miles an hour faster than I am told the car is capable of doing. Okay? That's kind of what the heroes do. Well, what happened with Gandalf in Lord of the Rings? He gets, beat up, knocked down, he's down fighting the Balrog. Well, it was nice knowing you, Gandalf. And he comes back as a more powerful wizard. Hercules goes into task after task after task, and he's almost always, it's like, oh, he's never going to do it, man, that's just a little too much, and thump, he manages to pull it off. 1960, I was told that, hey, you're designed to beat the devil. Okay? Right at the moment, what's outside of this building is the devil for me, obviously, and because the Pope himself admitted that he's the devil. Kind of nice of him to do that shortly after I made comment to him about it. It's kind of fun. I'm trying to beat the devil. So yeah, I am very much familiar with the idea of native religions, the Anunnaki, the little people, Ireland and the Irish and their little leprechauns, and the Appalachians and the little people hiding in the mountains, and anywhere you want to go in the world, there is something of a shamanistic, natural healers and psychic abilities and magicians and interdimensional travel and making things appear out, gold out of lead and all this kind of stuff. It's all over. And for me, I grew up basically knowing how to do a lot of that stuff. So I don't have a problem with putting my energy into what I am, where I'm going. A track record, whether it's that race car or you go talk to Konica Minolta in Southern California and you realize, those mechanics were forever blown away at how much stuff I pushed through those machines and how fast and hard I worked them. And at the same time, I took care of them. I didn't beat them to snot, but I understood what was going on when something went wrong. I got a tech there and we took care of it. And I also did some stuff that they just simply didn't know how the heck I was doing it. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that I'm just constantly beating the track records of whatever I come up against. But because I don't go after followers, I've always avoided that guru clique type of a thing. It's kind of a joke, but I'm trying to save life on this planet, and I've got two choices. I can either run out there and try and find a bunch of followers, or I can reach inside myself and grab a hold of something that I know exists and just simply create. Vida a la revolution. Long live the revolution. Occupy ISS. We're still alive and fighting.